Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd.
I hope you are doing well.
Let's talk about Beyoncé, one of the biggest, greatest, and most influential artists out there in the fields of pop music, of R&B, most recently dance and electronic music too, with the release of that Renaissance record. Which is so good. Anyway, she's in the midst of a moment of radical, artistic, evolutionary change, I suppose you could say. Not just with going from Lemonade, that personal conceptual story album, to again the dance epic that is Renaissance. But recently she was spotted at the Grammys wearing this, vaguely cowgirl-esque kind of getup. I mean, it was handily one of the cooler fits there that night. And I mean, she is from Texas. I figured maybe she just wanted to present a vibe fashion-wise. But no, apparently this getup is a part of some maybe larger shift in her sound and music for the foreseeable future. Because not too long after all this, Beyoncé drops 2 brand new singles, and guess what? They're kind of country. Of course, I'm talking about Texas Holdem and 16 Carriages. Let's quickly talk about the 2 tracks, starting first with Texas Holdem, which is handily the catchier, groovier, maybe more pop-centric song of the 2. And look, man, aesthetically, it's kind of country as hell.
That shit ain't pretty. Rugged whiskey.
It does go a little heavy-handed on the vocal harmonies to the point where it drowns out some of the mix, and those whistle bits are kind of cliche, but it's got all that backwater, plucky string instrumentation. Honestly, sounds less glossy and dolled up than some of the super shiny bro country that's out there. It definitely sounds more country than some of the snap beats that are often behind a lot of these pop country songs too, many of which just sound like a pop or an R&B song with a dude on top of it singing about a beer or a truck. But yeah, overall, it's still a catchy, well-written, well-assembled song that is just as good as any other country chart topper in terms of artistic detail, merit, style, just effort being put into it, and just the aesthetics you would expect Beyoncé to meet in order for it to be qualified as a country song. Then there's 16 Carriages, which is more of a country and rock mix. And to be honest, even though there are a few lyrical sections here and there that I think are a little out of touch and relatable, because you're Beyoncé, there's no fucking way you're making $16 doing anything. With that being said, though, the vocal performance is great. The moments lyrically where she's kind of, digging back into her past and talking about how she got to where she is today are moving and personal. And those huge, epic, layered crescendos of guitars and vocal harmonies are awesome as hell. In a way, I think this track does an even better job of meeting that country criteria. So Beyoncé comes out with 2 country bangers. What's the problem? Well, apparently, Twitter was aflame when some fans found out that there were country stations that were just not willing to play these songs when they are, in fact, undeniably country tracks. And arguing that Beyoncé is not a country artist doesn't really make sense in this context. Now, I will be as generous as possible and say that at least one major example of this with a radio station out of Oklahoma, I believe, they now seem to be open to playing the songs, given that, again, they are country songs, which is the good and fine and sensible choice to make here. The question is, though, how did we get to this place, and why did we not learn culturally from the last time that this was a discussion, which, as many of you may remember, was, with Lil Nas X's Oldtown Road. And if you guys remember when that record was hot, the industry was failing to consider it for the country charts because reasons? I guess maybe because a black artist with a hip-hop appeal as well can't also have a country appeal or make a song that could be categorized as a country song. But again, at that time too, there were plenty of country tracks and songs on the country charts that had pop crossover appeal, had these R&B style snap beats in the background, barely qualifying as a country track aesthetically. There were arguments, feelings were had, points were made. Miley Cyrus's dad hopped on the remix, and that ultimately kind of gave the track some level of country legitimacy, which it shouldn't have needed beforehand to have that, but whatever. And now we are here having a different version of the same argument. What the fuck? In the grander scheme of things, though, it doesn't so much seem like a hurdle as much as potentially a speed bump here, as this disagreement was quickly rectified, and it remains to be seen in the coming weeks as to whether or not these tracks will do the numbers they need to in order to chart, and will they be considered for the country charts in addition to whatever categorizations they might receive. These songs, by every standard and metric that you could gauge something to be country music in 2024, are country songs, and again, sound more country than a lot of the overproduced shit that's out there today. And I think on some level, Beyoncé and her writers and producers probably understood that was going to be a perception, that Beyoncé is not a country artist, she doesn't make country music, she can't be categorized or considered as such because she's pop, because she's R&B. As a result of that, it seems like they kind of went the extra mile to make sure these tracks, they gotta sound country, they gotta sound at least a little bit rustic. And they most certainly do, and I think they're the better for it. And look, I hope those disconnections culturally and those disagreements from this point and misunderstandings are not had. These are country songs regardless of who the fuck is making them. Just like Taylor Swift is entitled to make any kinds of songs of whatever category she wants, despite starting out as a country artist, and have those tracks faithfully categorized no matter what genre she decides to operate into the future. I mean, Tortured Poets Department could be a hip-hop record for all we know. The likelihood is high. I guess the question now is, beyond this, what is in store for Beyoncé? Is her heart fully into committing to this sound? Is she doing kind of a social experiment here to see how people perceive her as an artist and what genre she can and can't operate in? A little bit of both. Either way, I think they turned out pretty good for what they are, and I am going to leave it there. You're the best. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up, or a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Beyoncé, country, forever.